Tonight, poetry transformed into music.
Plus, meet a man that fights tragedy with tenacity. Stay tuned. TrojanVision Nightly News starts now.
From the high-definition digital production center on the Troy campus, with news from Troy University locations around the world, this is TrojanVision Nightly News.
Hello and welcome to TrojanVision Nightly News for April 11th, 2012. I'm Tiffany Lester.
And I'm Courtney Steele. Thank you for joining us this evening. How would your life be different if you didn't have any hands? Well, the guest speaker of this year's Helen Keller Lecture is proving that his giftability is not stopping him from achieving his dreams. The Helen Keller Lecture Series celebrated its 17th annual lecture Wednesday morning with the inspirational message of Dan Caro. At the age of 2, Caro sustained third-degree burns on over 70% of his body due to a fire at home. Carl lost his right hand and most of his left, however, that did not keep him from pursuing his dream of becoming a musician.
Well, being a resident of New Orleans and the New Orleans area my whole life, it was sort of in the blood, if you will. Just bought a drum, some sticks, and of course, when you're dealing with stuff like this, you got to figure out how to hold the sticks. So that was quite a challenge. Other than that, it was just hold on.
Carl said he has a constant desire to find inspiration in adversity and to take setbacks and turn them into setups. Some audience members said they can apply this same thinking in their own lives.
There's nothing that really can stop him to a certain extent. I mean, he's very enlightened to see someone of his personality, of his, not so much his circumstances, but took his circumstances at a bad place in his life and turned it into good.
Carl summed up his message to the audience with a few words.
I'd say be happy. I'd say get out, go out and enjoy your life. Don't let anything disrupt your joy and your happiness, and be grateful. And those are really the key things, I think, gratitude and happiness, joy.
Carl's unique style and musicianship has provided him with the opportunity to play with some of the world's greatest jazz musicians. But he says it's just being able to play that he enjoys the most.
It doesn't matter who I'm playing with, that's the wonderful thing. As long as I'm playing and having a good time, that's what matters. So everybody is a superstar as long as we're on stage making good music, We will hear more from Carl later in the show during Trojan Talk.
And Troy University had some visitors from different universities today, all talking about sports, and surprisingly, no one was arguing. Judson Garner has more.
The 8th Annual Southern Sport Management Conference began today and is on Troy's campus. Representatives from professional teams and universities have come from all over the state to attend the conference, which is highly beneficial to Troy's athletic department.
These types of things give us a lot of visibility for what we do for the academic field and also from the practitioner field, because it gives us an opportunity to bring people like from Talladega. They're coming down on Friday. Some representatives from Montgomery Biscuits. Instead of us going to them, they're kind of coming here to have a meeting or good content with all of our students. So it's very good for our visibility.
From the beginning, Troy University has played host to this conference, and the faculty believes that this gives Troy students an advantage in an otherwise tough field.
The sport industry is one where you pay your dues at the beginning, and it may not be the best pay, it may not be the greatest hours, but it is a very rewarding job for those who are very passionate about sports. So what we'd like to do is kind of pair them up, and so they could see practitioners and academics who were once in their shoes and say, oh, well, that's what it takes to get to the next level, to get to where I want to go.
Students look forward to getting information about sports management that they just might not learn in the classroom.
Just to see all the different aspects, what jobs are available kind of thing.
I hope to actually get more viewpoints other than what I'm used to here at Troy, broaden my horizon and vision of what else is out there and going on.
Judson Garner, Troy, TrojanVision News.
The conference will wrap up on Friday afternoon. And Will Courtney, the work of a poet, Emily Bobo, was transformed into music by a professor of Troy University.
That's right, and last night an audience had their first chance to hear the new work. Hernan Diaz has the story.
On Tuesday night, students on campus had the opportunity to enjoy the debut performance of a musical piece based on a poetry of Emily Bobo written by Troy University Tracy Mendel. The piece was based on a number of Bobo's work.
5 of my poems: American Classic, Safe, and Learned Behaviors, which has 3 different poems inside of it. So it's quite an undertaking. I understand Dr. Mendel worked on it for 8 months.
Bobo, who is an associate professor of English at the Ivy Tech Community College in Indiana, is the author of a poetry chapbook called Fuji, about an ex-pianist's relationship to her instrument.
That's very exciting for me to see my text working in collaboration with music.
Bobo, a musician from Troy, answered some questions prior to the performance and shared some of their experience to the students and the rest of assistants. And minutes later, they were on stage performing, showing their talent and delighting the public inside Crosby Theater. Hernan Diaz, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Bobo also had a chance to share her poetry without musical accompaniment with students at a poetry reading earlier this week.
And now taking a look at news from around the state. In Leeds, investigators were hoping to get their first look inside a submerged car owned by a woman who's missing. The car that belonged to 64-year-old Carrie Elaine Gentry was found under 40 feet of water in a quarry in Leeds yesterday.
And in Montgomery, a state Senate committee has delayed work on the next education budget for 1 week. The Senate Finance and Taxation Education Committee was scheduled to take up the education budget today, but the committee chairman said she's still talking with senators about their priorities.
And in Birmingham, abortion opponents are asking the state to shut down a women's clinic that was once targeted by a deadly bombing. Groups including Alabama Citizens for Life held a news conference today to demand the immediate closure of New Woman All Women Health Care, which was cited for multiple violations of state health rules earlier this month. Clinic operators have agreed to voluntarily surrender their license by May 18th.
And still to come on TrojanVision Nightly News, Troy's baseball team hit the field last night, and Dustin Carroll will let us know if they whooped Jack State.
Plus, find out the latest details in the Trayvon Martin case. We'll have that and more coming up next on Troy TrojanVision Nightly News.
Fear death. Massive earthquake is to rock the city. Worst natural disaster this region has ever witnessed.
When a disaster strikes, time is a killer. The UN Central Emergency Response Fund jumpstarts relief efforts, which saves lives. Help us help in time. Donate now at rapiddisasterrelief.org.
Yeah. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap us next Sunday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning Troy TrojanVision Nightly News.
And now for a look at what's happening across the nation and around the world, we go to Tiffany Lester at the Global News Desk. Tiffany?
Thanks, Courtney. CBS News has learned that George Zimmerman will be charged with the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. Randall Pinkston is in Sanford, Florida with the latest.
Barricades are up outside the correctional facility in Sanford, Florida, where authorities are waiting for an announcement in the Trayvon Martin case. A senior law enforcement official close to the case says Special Prosecutor Angela Corey is expected to press state charges against George Zimmerman, the volunteer neighborhood watch captain who says he shot the unarmed 17-year-old in self-defense. The Martin family has been calling on prosecutors to charge Zimmerman with murder.
For the last 44 days, it has been a nightmare, and this is coming from a mother's perspective.
Martin's parents spoke in Washington, D.C., where civil rights leaders met with U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. He says the Justice Department is looking into possible federal civil rights charges.
That at every level of today's Justice Department, preventing and combating youth violence and victimization is and will continue to be a top priority.
Police here in Sanford are taking steps to keep the peace once the prosecutor makes her announcement. Zimmerman is going to have to figure out his legal defense. The two attorneys representing him quit yesterday after he stopped talking to them. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Sanford, Florida.
A massive earthquake hit off Indonesia's coast, triggering widespread panic of a tsunami. But Monica Villamizar reports from London that residents have now been given the all clear.
The powerful earthquake led to massive evacuations across Southeast Asia. Civilians directed traffic as people headed for higher ground in Banda Aceh, close to the epicenter. There was panic. Women fainted and crowds gathered at mosques to pray. Many feared the worst because in 2004, a devastating quake and tsunami hit the same area and killed 230,000 people across the region. This man says he felt the ground shake for nearly 6 minutes.
The office people were running out. They were screaming and everybody was feeling that there is some earthquake is happening.
Warning alarms sounded across the Indian Ocean. In Thailand, schools interrupted classes. Hospitals moved patients outside. And tourist areas near the coast were immediately placed under a tsunami warning after a second 8.2 quake hit just hours after the first one.
Aftershocks will go on for weeks or months, maybe as long as years. You wouldn't expect any more aftershocks this big.
Indonesia remains on high alert, but the president says there are no reports of deaths or serious damage. Monica Villamizar, CBS News.
And that wraps things up from the Global News Desk. To see more stories from across the country and around the world, including the revelation of what state the Simpsons may live in, you can tune into Troy TrojanVision Global News right after the nightly news. Now, back to you, Courtney.
Thanks, Tiffany. Now Dustin Carroll joins with a look at sports. So, Dustin, the softball and baseball team were both at home yesterday with a little bit of action.
That's right, Courtney. Both teams were at home yesterday. Women's softball team had a doubleheader. Both teams were hoping to pick up victories after a tough weekend last week. And I'll get into more details right now.
Okay.
After being swept by Florida International in South Beach last weekend, the Troy baseball team was back at home at the friendly confines of Riddle Pace Field. Justin McNally has the story.
On Tuesday night, the Trojans took Whoop-Jack State to a whole new level. While pounding out 15 hits, the Trojans were able to swing momentum in their favor and hang on to a 15-7 victory over the visiting Gamecocks and end their 6-game losing streak. The Trojans jumped out to an early 3-0 lead in the first, and head coach Bobby Pierce was happy that his team was able to get off to a fast start.
Like the way we started tonight's game with the 3 runs in the first. Certainly like the way we continued to score. I think the second inning was the only inning we didn't score. Multiple runs in all the other innings of the game.
The Gamecocks tied it back up in the second and held the Trojans scoreless in the bottom half of that inning, which would be the only time either one of those things happened. The Trojans continued the onslaught behind a combined 7 RBIs from Danny Collins and Logan Pierce, but momentum really went in their favor after the Trojans added a 4th inning home run from a familiar face. For a team that's been struggling as of late, the Trojans' bats came alive tonight, scoring multiple runs in 7 out of 8 innings. One of those runs came from a home run off the bat of freshman catcher Jake Harrell. It wasn't just great hitting that propelled the Trojans to victory. Trojan pitchers William Teal, Garrett McHenry, and Jeremy McGowan combined to give up just 2 hits through the first 5 innings. Ryan Brady came on in relief and struck out 4 batters through 2 innings of work, and A.J. Howard came in to pitch the 8th. The Gamecocks gave the Trojans the scare by scoring 3 in the top of the 9th, but Nate Hill and Thomas Austin were able to seal the win for the Trojans. Trojan offense acknowledged how important the pitching staff was to their success.
Oh, it's always huge when the pitching comes out and just dominates. That puts a little less pressure on us to do what we can do. And obviously you saw tonight where, when we don't have as much pressure, we can just get our swings in and get some balls off the bat and score some runs.
You teach your players to fight back every inning, down to the last out. And Jack State really did that. And then we knew we threw our 2 best guys in that last inning. And we found a way to get out of it.
With the victory, the Trojans improved to 14-18 on the year. Justin McNally, Troy TrojanVision Sports.
The Trojans will stay at home this weekend and play our battle for the Palladium rivals, Middle Tennessee State. The Troy softball team was also at home with a doubleheader against Kennesaw State Tuesday. Courtney Addison will let us know if they were able to get a double celebration.
After coming off of a rough weekend and having almost 25 scoreless innings, the Troy softball team was finally able to get the bats going and mercy rule the Kennesaw State Owls in the second game of a doubleheader Tuesday night.
Most importantly, our girls had been on a big hitting slump, obviously dating back through the Western Kentucky series. They didn't realize that we hadn't scored, and I think they brought forth some pride to battle and fight through that in that second game.
Freshman J.C. Affelt got the start on the mound and picked up the win for Troy, improving her record to 7-6. Affelt allowed 4 hits, struck out none, and walked 3. The Trojans were held scoreless until the 4th inning when a few Owl errors allowed Troy to put 3 runs on the board. Throughout the game, Troy was able to scatter 10 hits, and Hayden Gann led the Trojans at the plate, going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Here's Coach Davis' thoughts on the freshman pitching duo and the team's approach at the plate.
Their 3 and 4 hitters have given us havoc throughout their careers, and for them to be able to keep them in the park and then really not give up any earned runs, couldn't be happier. And this game is about pitching, and so it's a great sign for us. If our 2 freshmen will continue their growth and their performance, and our bats will continue to get stronger mentally, we'll be okay come tournament time.
The team was given time to reflect on their performance after the first game against Kennesaw State. And after regrouping, Troy bounced back to defeat the Owls 8-0 in 5 innings, improving Troy's season record to 24-15.
We tend to play pretty well at home, and they were very embarrassed. We gave them a little time in the locker room, and a couple of seniors came down and said there was some tears up there, and they were all very frustrated and very upset. And I'm really proud of how they just, held their composure, came down, held the game close, defensively with good pitching, and then just kind of exploded and took care of business.
Courtney Addison, Troy, TrojanVision Sports.
The softball team won't have much time to rest as they will be back in action tomorrow against Florida A&M in Tallahassee, Florida. The Sun Belt Conference announced today that junior tennis player Caroline Grimmel was named Sun Belt Player of the Week on the women's side. Grimmel helped Troy to a 2-0 record last week with victories over Arkansas State and Alabama State. Grimmel was perfect for the week in single play and doubles play. Grimmel and the Trojans are in action today against Samford in Birmingham.
Well, Courtney, Tiffany, it was big wins for both the softball team and baseball team yesterday. Hopefully the momentum will carry into the weekend, and hopefully we'll have some good weather this weekend for the baseball games, softball games, and all sports.
I'm pretty sure Courtney will let us know soon how the weather should be for this weekend.
I'm sure she will.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
And still to come on Trojan Vision, we'll hear more from the Helen Keller lecturer when he joins Aaron Taylor in today's Trojan Talk.
Plus, cooler temperatures settled into our area today, and we didn't see those highs we're used to. Should we heat this morning and expect even cooler temperatures tonight? Courtney?
It looks like those cooler temperatures will be sticking around into tonight, but I'll let you know more of those details coming up in weather.
At the heart of what we do in the College of Business is care for the student.
It's a personal thing with the students. We feel like the students are our most important asset, our most important products.
I have never been anywhere where I've known so many students on first name basis. They stop by socially to talk to.
So we understand who our students are, and we're trying to help them be better in their areas of professional work.
My colleagues and I work together to create programs that our students need.
What we try to do at Troy University is provide an experience to students that not only provide the curriculum that allows them to be successful in the business world, but we also try to expand their horizons to reach greater opportunities that maybe they didn't think they were capable of before.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning TrojanVision Nightly News.
Troy University's official student newspaper, The Chipolitan, comes out every Thursday. To give us a look at what will be in tomorrow's edition of The Trop, here's Ed Bailey.
Good evening, Troy University. Here's what you can expect to see in this week's edition of The Trop. Troy police has nabbed a suspect in relation to the recent armed robbery incident last week. News will have the details on this and an update on the shots that were fired at Cobb Court. We'll also have the scoop on the Troy NAACP's new charity. Features will offer a special look at the Sound of the South. Arts and Entertainment will have the results of Limelight. Sports will have further info on Sunbelt expansion. Also, we'll have coverage on the Trojan happenings on the Diamond. And that's tomorrow's Trop. Today, I'm Perspectives Editor Ed Bailey.
And now with weather, here's Courtney Addison.
So Courtney, we were feeling sort of a heat wave, high 70s, low 80 temperatures, but today it was very cool outside As the week ends, will we be experiencing more cooler temperatures?
That's right, Tiffany. We did wake up to a little bit of a shock this morning with very cool temperatures, and we haven't been seeing many of those. I think they'll just stick into tonight, and we should get warmer weather, but I'll have more on that later. First, let's take a look at our campus snapshot. Looking at our campus snapshot, it's still a sunny day outside on the quad. It's still warm enough to get outside and enjoy some cool weather. And looking at our current conditions, we have mostly cloudy skies today with a temperature of 69. Dew point at 42, humidity at 37%, barometer at 30.07 and falling, and winds coming in from the northwest at 9 miles per hour. In today's statistics, we had a high of 70 with a low of 43. There was no rain. Sunrise was at 6:19 a.m. and the sun should set at 7:10 p.m. Looking at temperatures from around the state, we see Mobile coming in at 77. We have Birmingham at 68, Huntsville at 65, Montgomery at 79, Troy at 69, Phoenix City and Dothan both coming in at 73. For the most part, everyone's still seeing very sunny skies around the state, even though we did see cooler temperatures coming in. And the current temperatures around the southeast, we see still everyone's seeing very warm temperatures, even the peninsula of Florida, even seeing those temperatures into the mid and low 80s. And for our current temperatures around the United States, very warm temperatures down south, and also if we look back towards west, they're still seeing those very warm temperatures. Even in the central part of the United States, they're still seeing very warm temperatures in the 60s and the 70s. And the northeast is still experiencing very cool temperatures in the 40s and the 50s, which will be our lows for the night. In our current surface for the United States, we see, if we look back towards west, there are several pressure systems developing out that way with a little bit of rain showers, which will be pushing into the northern part of Texas in the next couple of days. But if we look closer into our area, we see a cold front moving into the peninsula of Florida and also a pressure system moving in, but none of that having a lot of effect on our area right now. In our precipitation forecast for the next 48 hours, we see no rain in our area, but if we look back towards west, there's lots of rain and scattered showers. They could be seeing anywhere up to a ½ inch of rain in some parts of the United States. And into Thursday, we still see no rain in our area, still looking very clear, but we do see a lot of rain out in the central part of the United States, and they could even be seeing some very severe weather as well. And Friday, we also see more rain, but it's still clear in our area, so we still should be seeing a beautiful weekend. And as far as Saturday, still clear in our area, but there is rain lingering over into the central part of the United States and a lot of part of Texas, so we could possibly see that rain coming into the next part of the next week. And for Sunday, still clear in our area, so we should have a beautiful weekend to enjoy. That rain is still moving closer into our area, but hasn't quite reached us yet. And for tonight's forecast, we see clear skies with light and variable winds coming in from the north at 6 miles per hour with a low of 43. So it's going to be a rather chilly night. Make sure you keep that jacket on hand if you do plan to go outside. And for tomorrow's forecast, we have sunny skies to be a beautiful day outside with a light breeze coming in from the northeast at 9 miles per hour with a high of 72. So it's going to be a beautiful day outside. Make sure you get outside and enjoy that weather. And for our class outlook, 7 a.m. we have 45 degrees, so it's going to be a rather cool morning. At 10 a.m., 54, so you might still need to keep that light jacket on hand as you're going to class. By 1 p.m., it's warmed up into 67, and by 3 p.m., we reach 70. And taking a look at our 4-day forecast, we see Thursday with a high of 75, a low of 50. Friday with a high of 79, low of 55. Saturday with a high of 80 and low of 60. And Sunday with a high of 84. So and sunny skies should continue into the rest of the week. So Tiffany, we should be seeing very warm weather for the rest of the week. So make sure you get outside and enjoy that weather. Sunny skies, beautiful weekend. It won't be too much longer before we're trading 74 into 84 and then 94 as we get going on to summer.
And that's very good as we do have a lot of home games this weekend, baseball and softball. So the weather is very good, so we can just have a lot of fans out there to support the teams.
Exactly. Beautiful weather to enjoy those games.
Thank you, Courtney.